Hi, this is part 2 of the series for Advanced Steel Overview. So this is a model, if you haven't seen the previous video, this is a model I'm just coming up with out of my head. Nothing special, pretty simple. Maybe we'll do some cantilevers or something over here, or we'll just kind of wing it as we're going. So we'll try to do some different types of connections. For now I'm going to finish up the bottom here. So I'm going to go back to 2D and I'm going to select this feature and the footing, and I'm going to copy it from this node to this node. I like to do things one at a time also. Obviously I don't do too large of projects, so it doesn't slow me down too much, and I can be a little more sure my numbering is going to be fine and stuff like that. So you can see I messed up because I clicked on the footing instead of the slab, so it tried to put this onto the footing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy just the feature from here over to here and then select the slab. You can see it highlights it because it kind of knows what you want, and it's saying, is this what you want? So now I've already copied these connections. So if you go to one of these, if you click on any element of the connection, advanced joint properties, it'll now show you the connection box. You'll see what pop up. You see this is the connection box here. And you can see I need to upgrade this to the primary connection, or else I can't change anything. So this one over here is the primary connection, but you don't need to find it because you can just upgrade one of the other ones. So we can see this is the primary connection. So you don't even need to pick that to copy though. I can pick any element of this one and do this same copy over here. And I can select this one. Do I want to add additional concrete objects? Yes, I do. I want to select this. And then I want to pick this one, and yes, and this. Okay, so now these five columns all have the same connection on the bottom, base connection. So what I'm going to do now is we'll switch it just a little bit to shaded so you can see what's going on a little better. And I'll copy this one over. So these are 5. So now this time, also I need to copy the grout across here for my drawings later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this, and I'm just going to do a regular copy so they're not connected, because it's a different type of element, or it's a different type of column. Additional concrete objects, yes. And then now I picked the wrong. Now that's where I'm gone wrong, right? So I have additional concrete objects for all of these. But if I run a clash check, it's going to clash because I moved my slab, and now my connections are going into these instead. So what you might want to do is, I'll finish this up and then we'll run a clash check and it'll just show you. So you can see this is not really going to work. So with this type of connection here, I have the right height. So, but I want to make this a square base plate. So I want this base plate, the column is 5 by 5. So I want 3 inches either side generally. So that's 11 by 11. So plate dimensions, I would want to be 11 by 11. And then your anchor bolts, I want to be 8. So 1.5 inches either side. So that's 3 plus 5 is 8. And then 8 the other direction. Now you can put in leveling plates and all that stuff. I'm not going to get into that because I'm not going to be able to get into every connection and all the different ways of doing it. It's pretty straightforward. So now this one is good. So now I can copy this as, they used to call it master slave. I guess it's mother daughter now. Do you want to select additional concrete object? Yes. I want to pick that object this time, which is the correct object. Alright, so now I've copied those three. So let's just see if I turn on this onto 2D wireframe, and if we do a clash detection. Oh, we have a lot of beams and columns as well. Sorry, we didn't create any connections. But we, as you can see here, we have anchors to footings because of what I did. So I think the best way around that probably you can do two ways. You can either pick these, pick all of these, so select similar because they're all on the one layer. Advanced properties. This is the short way to do it right now. You want to go to naming, behavior, and use for numbering, use for lists. I don't want them on lists anyway. Structure, remember. Use for collision check, no. So that'll do for now. The other option is to just go back, which is pretty straightforward. It's probably what I would do. Just go back and select on these. You can see it's showing you where the clash is with the concrete there. And now this original one is going to be the problem actually, because I don't have that set up. So what you want to do is just copy this. We might as well do it right. Let's copy it as a normal connection over here. Yes, I want to pick the footing, and there's my connection. Now I'm going to delete this one, and then that one over there will become the parent connection. So select a part of that. So as I said, a lot of times I just use solids. I'm kind of getting into the weeds a little bit here, but what the matter? Alright, so now they're all connected. The only one to have a problem with now is this one, right? So let's select this, and then alright, now I'm going to put some grout in here, rectangle, extrude. I just find it easier because I don't like it to be straight, and when I do a plate it's a little more work. When I do it this way, it just means I have to add a hatch myself. I'll put that. Now what I can do is I want to copy this one to these other two in the middle. And then I want to have the same properties, so I want it to be on the same layer as that one, because you can see it's white. I want it to be grey on the drawing. Alright, so now we're getting somewhere. So now we want to create some connections here. Like I said, these aren't engineered connections, so you'll have to bear with me. So here, we probably have enough room to have clips in here. So what I'll do is we'll come in here and we'll do a clip angle from this beam as the main beam to this beam. So it's a W10, we have enough room. You can see the bolts seem to be okay. Let's check the angles, 4x4 by 3/8. Cut back, I don't need to cut this parallel. 1/2 inch cut back is fine, but I can make it 0.75. It's bigger beam. Clip weld, no. So I'm going to do bolt parameters. So some people like to fabricate like this and they're fine with that. Problem you can have with this is the bolts and trying to get the gun on it. So you can't get the gun in here, but a lot of people will TC these bolts beforehand, so then you only have to do these ones. The problem will be a double connection. Also, these bolts here are facing this direction. So when I create a drawing for this beam, these bolts will be on the drawing, these 6. Now, if they were facing the other way, they would be on the column drawing. So these bolts end up on the drawing, whatever side the head is on. So the head of the bolt, not the nut. So that's a good thing to know. So right now, we can make this a staggered connection if we have enough room. Advanced joint properties. So we'll see if you have enough room. So you want to do vertical bolts. If we move this up a little bit, 2.5, and then bolts staggered. So I want the secondary staggered, and you can see it's staggered it, but it's very close to the bottom there. So you're getting a little tight there, but the guy is going to be able to TC the bolts at least. You can also stagger them the other way if that's preferred. So it's a little tight down here. So if you want to see how tight it is, let's click on the beam and come in here. And let's change the style, the visual style of the beam. You can see we're just missing that radius, so it's not too bad. It's tight, and it's not as tight at the top. So maybe that's okay. So maybe they're okay with that. So what I'll do now is, we'll be happy enough with that connection. So I'm going to pick this connection again. Come down here to library. Save values. Edit, and this is it here. So advanced steel, I'll just call it ASO1, okay, or ASO staggered. So that's advanced steel overview staggered. Alright, so now over here, I want to do a shear plate. So I'm going to select here and here, so a column back to this beam. Now, you can see it comes in, it looks, the bolts seem a little close to the end. It's got this mark in here, which I probably don't need because it's going to be offset, right? So you're going to know which side that goes on. I can leave this marking on for now, it's fine, because I do use them quite a bit. I want these bolts to be TC bolts. Horizontally, I want this plate to be a 4-inch plate, so I want this to be 2.5. Go back to cuts and stiffeners. This can cause a problem later. You need those 2 turned off. I don't know why they come on automatically. They shouldn't. And I'm going to cut the beam back to 3/4. So now we have that connection on the beam. It's also got the punch mark, so you know which side of the beam it goes on, and it will do this automatically on your plasma machine. So right now, that looks good. So now, we could do the same thing. We can copy this connection using this parent-child relationship. If we do that, it's different, right? Because it's put it on another side of it. So I'm going to say no, we'll keep them the same. But when I do these beams, I generally like to have one clip on the inside and one on the outside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this and I'm going to remove it from the joint group. Then I'm going to double click on it. Now, if you remember what I was saying about the bolts, if I come in here and I change this plate to the other side, you can see the bolts didn't move. So now these bolts will be on the column drawn. I don't want them on the column drawn. They should be with the beam in case all the columns get delivered to the site, and then them bolts that arrive there, they'll get rusty before the beams get there. So you kind of want it on the drawn with the beam. It's not the end of the world, but it's good practice, I think. So I'm going to invert the bolts, and there you go. So now we have that connection. So now over here we're probably going to try and do a staggered connection again. So what I can do is I can copy this one and copy it as a group if you want to, from here to here, and that one works because it's the same situation. This one, it flipped it onto this side, so it wasn't the same situation. Over here, this is a bigger beam, so I really want to separate this, so I'll just copy it normally, and I'll copy it from here to here. And you can see that's staggered. I don't know if we want to put an extra bolt in there. You can check inside if you know the forces or whatever, but generally the engineer will do that. So if you just check it, there's no fail verification, but you know, if you want to hold on, I'm not sure if that was the right one, sorry. So you can open this and you can do bolt parameters, vertical bolts, 4 inches, 4 bolts. So it'll fit 4 bolts, so probably don't need 4 to be honest with you. So probably leave it at 3, but because it's a bigger beam, we can move this back down to 3 inches where we like to have it. And that looks a little better. So we'll just leave it like that. And now we can select this and we can copy it over to this side. We can use the one where it copies the same type of connection. So if I switch one, it'll switch the other. So you can see this one is 3 bolts. This one is 3 bolts. If I open this one, the box will appear. And then I can upgrade that one. And if I go vertical bolts to 4, this has changed to 4, but this one also has changed to 4, as you can see. So you can back up out of that, or you can just change it back to 3 here. Close it. Alright, so we're getting our connections in. What we can do is we can copy this one again, and we'll keep all of these on the same side just to make it easy. So we'll copy to this one and to this one. So now we just need this double connection here. We need this other one on the other end of this beam. We're going to again use the connection. These will be connected. You can see here this is showing this radius on the inside. You don't want to leave that on, it'll just slow down your computer. So just set it back, use this button here to set it back to normal. Alright, so staggered settings here, we're going to want to do the same as we did in this one, only it's going to be a double connection. So let's come into our double connection, select the beam or the column, beam, and second beam to be attached. So you can see what we've got in here. So we want to keep it the same. So the angles were 4x4x3.8. The cutback, we made it 0.75. So you want to do the cutback for both of these, 0.75. Just remember there's 2 beams, cleat weld, I'm okay, shims, copes. I'm just going to auto cope. This is better off. I don't need it in this situation, but I'll set it inside a secondary. 0.75 while I'm in here in case I copy this to where a beam is connecting to a beam. From the main flange I can do 0.75. We don't need that either. So these now I'm just setting up in case I reuse this connection or if I want to save this connection. Because otherwise if I copy this to another situation where it's a beam to a beam, my corpse will be messed up. So you can't see it right now. I can show it to you in a bit. And one last one. 0.75 inside the secondary. Oh, sorry. I was waiting for it to change. 0.75. Okay. The bolts are wrong. So I want to have TC bolts. And then you have a staggered setting here. So on the previous one, I staggered the main down. So here, you can see beam top. We want to make this 2.5. And then we want to stagger at the main. See, that's staggering up, down, none. So if I want these at the secondary. So it's not letting me, I'm not doing the main. So I want to go down on the secondary and down on the secondary. Oh no, I want to go up. Sorry, messing it up. I want to go up. I don't do this too often. Most people just say, oh, just leave it the way it is, which I don't like. And then I'm going to go down 5.5. That's too much, sorry. I only had to go 1.5, so I want to go 4 here. So I want to go 4, and again you have the same situation where this is going to be riding on the curve on the bottom. So let's just check it and see. Not that one. It's just riding the curve, so you're good. It's not actually getting to that K value. Alright, so we can save that one also. So you want to go to properties, library, save value, edit. And it's got to be in here somewhere. Yes, oh, double. Well, we know it's a double already, right? We know it's a double, so we'll just leave it as a ASO1. Alright, so we won't get too crazy over here, I guess. Unless we want to weld some of these or something. What you can do, why don't we decide to make these a little bigger and we can weld them, and it'll also give you an idea of what to do with the base plate. So let's say these beams are properties, height, width, 6.5 inches. So let's make them 8 inches so we can weld inside the radius. So we're going to have to go down to this advanced joint properties. And let's do the base plate this time. We can either do it by the anchors. So what we'll do is the base plate. Oh, let me upgrade it, sorry. Let's go to properties. Upgrade it to the primary connection. Base plate. Projections. Dimensions. I want it to be 3 all the way around. You can see it's gone back to the correct size. So now when I go in here, if I want to make this an 8-inch tube, I'm going to go in and make it 8 by 8 by ½ inch. 3/8's probably enough, but we'll do ½ inch, doesn't matter. We can make it whatever size we want. We can see the base plate has got bigger, but the anchors have not. So, advanced joint properties. Now you can do it by anchors also. 8, so I want this to be 11 and 11. And I'm going to delete that. Actually, I won't delete it. I'll back up. I'll create another rectangle. I'll extrude that down 1.5. And I'll do -20, and then I'll match the properties of this one to this one, and then I'll delete it. So now you can see this has changed. The anchors are out, but the plate is not. So now I'm also going to match the properties from this column to this column and this column, and we can see that our base plates should be correct. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to copy this over from here. Alright, so that's what we got. So let's see if we maybe want to just shear tab this one and maybe weld these outside ones. So if we come in here, there's a moment connection to column. We'll try that one. Moment connection. So let's see if I move this out here. Let's have a look at our preview window. Dun, dun, dun. Sorry, I'm just thinking about where I'm going next to this. So let's try this one here. It's for a column, right? So let's go main column. Plates are probably going to be inside. No, the plates came back. That's good. But the beam is inside, right? So that's not much use, right? So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens if we move this back. So you can see it's made cuts and everything in here, but this is too long. So what if we drag this back in the X direction? To corner this endpoint. Alright, now it's cut it right to the face. And there's a gap in the web. And let's double click on this and see what we got in here. So let's make these 0.75. And the bottom one is on the bottom, right? So they're both flat welds, so that's fine. Cut to face. Oh yeah, that just... So I guess if I haven't done this one in a while, so let me just see. If I move this back out here, it's giving me the option inside to cut the face. But I don't want to cut the face, I want to cut it with a gap, right? Cut the face, cut back 0.25. Alright, so there you go, you're getting your settings in there. Do I want to cut the inner web? Let's not cut the inner web for now. And those back and bar top full, I want that to be a value, and the length of 5 is not enough. Obviously I'm going to make it the full width of the column, which is 8. Alright, so that's probably good. You just check your welds here. So if I go in here, click on this weld, that's a site weld, and this one is a site weld. I can have that as a shop weld, and we'll tack weld them in the shop. Now if I select what's connected in the shop, that's what's connected in the shop. Make sure your system lines are good, I like to have them going to the center of the member they're connecting to. And now we're going to go back in here, and we can actually probably just grab one of these. Let's grab this and let's just copy it normally. Not to there, to there. Alright, what do we got now? You can see we've got this. Problem is now it's cut this back, see? So I don't want that. So let's see if I come in here, cuts and stiffeners. If I make this 0.25, that brings that back over, right? But we don't have enough of a cut then in here. So I should have left the cut with the other one. Let's see. Is it that box? That's the shear plate. Let's pick the other one. This is the moment connection. And then if I want to cut back this inside, let's see if we do 0.5. And let's see if that works. And that looks pretty good, right? I'm pretty happy with that. This one here, let's extend this out over here 3 feet. Now what you can also do is I could copy this out 3 feet, and then I can extend this out. Now you'll have to add these. If you go to my custom commands video, you can add these ones. So we're gonna put 2 other beams coming out here later, I think. For now I'll just keep going. I'm kind of just coming up with this as I go, so I mean it's not difficult, but I'm kind of winging it. So let me copy this one, and I can copy this as part of the connection. I won't because it's a tube. I can, but I won't. So I'm just going to copy it normal. Here to here. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is this one is going to pass over this one. So I'm going to use, there's 2 different connections, but I generally use this one. If I can find it, cable wall end. So I'm going to select the beam and then the column. And you can see the idea we have. Now that is a rather large tube. So we're going to have to doctor up our connection here. Plates and bolts. I'm going to make that a 3/4 inch plate. Plate layout is going to be by total. So I want the bolt distance to be, it's an 8-inch column, so I want it to be 11. And I want the bolts to be TC bolts. You can see the bolts are also on the gauge line. So let me go back to the plate. The plate weight is 6.5. It's an 8-inch column, so let's make it a 9-inch plate wide. And then we want to add some stiffeners, full stiffeners. Let's house them all. I don't want that. I want on flanges, and that's good. And those are 3/8, and that's fine. Full and value. I want 1/16 gap. That's good. Quarter finish. Alright. See, if you want to check the gap, so let's put 0. And you can see the top and the bottom both stretch. So this is a flange gap for top and bottom. If you do an actual stiffener connection, it'll give you an option for the top and the bottom. So right now this is what we've got. Okay, so that's not too bad. Alright, let's close that one. So now I'm going to copy this one over to the other side. So I'll keep it as part of the connection. It can be again on the inside. It's asking me because it's on the other side of the beam. Do you want to separate? No, I'll keep it the same. It doesn't matter. So I want to put a cap plate on these columns, but the problem I have here with this one is I'm going to be welding to this. So generally I won't have this sticking up. So generally what will happen is I'll come in here and I'll go to my columns and I'll go to end plate, select that column, and see the way it automatically shortens that. So I'll change that to a 3/8 plate. But the problem is you're going to be welding to where that plate is, so that's not really good enough. So I'm going to have to extend this up a little bit. So I'll just do none. So I'm going to give him enough room there to weld that, if you know what I mean. So the other thing I want to do is I want to put a radius on these. So if I close this out, actually go back into this, just check your weld. I don't want that to be a square weld because I have it left short on either side, so I just want that to be a fillet weld all around. Okay. So now if I select this column and I come in here and change the presentation, we can see I want to put a radius on these corners, so I'm going to do, and I'm going to do convex, and I want to be 1 inch, and that looks pretty good. It doesn't have to be exact, but it looks good. So the next time this should come in with the same value of 1, and then same again, and then just pick it again, and now you've got that plate. Now we don't need to connect that here. So what you can do now if you want is, if I select this column, because if I copy, let's say if I copy this connection, so if I select this top plate and I attempt to create another one over here. Now on this project, it doesn't really matter because I'm only doing one, but I don't want to have to go and fillet all these again. So I can delete that connection. Sorry, I'm just going to get a drink. Alright, so what I want to do is, what do I want to do? Oh yeah, let's set this back to normal, and then, oh, that's right, I'm looking for the feature. There is no feature because we didn't cut it any shorter, right? So what I want to do is I'm going to create a custom command. It's one beam at end, and I want to, oh, I never selected the beam, sorry. One beam at end, select the beam, post cap, column cap, I guess, HSS 8x8 cap. Objects. I will select the box just to be safe. I'll select the weld, I'll select the plate, and there is no feature cutting the column, so I'm just going to select these. And drivers, you can see the post highlights and column HSS. Okay, now if I want to put this in, I'll just click here, and I have to go to the name of the drawing, HSS post, not that, sorry, this one, 8x8 cap, okay. And then if I select this, it should come in. It come in with all the features on it. Now I can allow object modification, okay. Now I can delete this, and if I select this column and all these features, I don't need to select a weld as such. And if I copy these, advanced copy, from the node to the node, and then preview, you can see it'll do the same thing, and it brought the weld over as well. Okay, so you can do it that way also. So there's only two, so there's no point. You're better off just copying it like I just did, not the other way. Alright, so we need to put a connection in there. There's not going to be enough room unless we use smaller plates, so we'll probably use a shear connection. So let's go to our shear connection again. What I can do is you can just start from one of these and just grab this one here. Make sure you use this copy connection so they're not connected. But this time I'm going to do a beam to a beam. And you can see what we have there. The co-ops look okay, but not great. See the radius is up onto that. So that shows that I haven't got a proper one saved in my library. So what we're going to do is we'll change this to shaded so you can see it a little better. And let's go in here. And let's make this easy. We don't want to be trying to duct this beam in here. Hopefully it'll be strong enough with 3 bolts. We'd have to do some engineering probably, but let's just make the connection the way we want it, where it's easy for the guys to install it. Let's just assume that it'll pass the test, that it'll pass the engineer. So plate type, flange both. And then radius and the inside corners, we can make it 0.5, which is a lot. 0.25, I kind of like. 3/8 is probably even better, but anyway. So flange gap 1/16. Flange gap on the other side 1/16. Let's assume we want to connect this from the other side. So let's put the plate on the other side and the bolts. Let's TC, let's invert them. So let's go back and look at the other side. Alright, so now I don't want to have to duct the beam in there. So cuts and stiffeners, the end of the beam, I want to cut back layout from flange. So you can see it's cut it back from the flange. And cut back as little as possible, but give us enough room, so 1/2 inch. And then I want to do my bolts. I want to do, let's check the vertical, 3 from the top, 3, 1/2. Alright, they're all good. Horizontal bolts. So plates. So what I want to do here is alignment of bolts, vertical, slope, staggered, that's okay. We don't want to change that. Bolt staggered, none. Bolts and holes. So the problem we have now is, as you can see, if I want to set this back, right, and horizontal, sorry, if I go 4 inches, you're kind of only guessing then, right? So you're kind of guessing here where you want to be. So the best thing to do really is go back to 2.5 and go back to plate layout. So what you can do for reference is I can just put a line in here at the end point. Okay, advanced joint properties. So instead of cutting it back from the flange, I'm going to cut it back from the face. So flange, I'm going to cut back from face. And then I'm going to cut it back 4 inches. And you can see that's too much, 3.5. It's not bad there. I mean, it's a little tight to the flange, but we don't want to go too far out, so I mean, they're going to be able to make that, but, you know, I guess you could make it 3 5/8 if you want. I usually try and keep it fairly even, but so we can do 3 5/8. So then if you want to go to the horizontal bolts, the edge distance. So you can see 2 is your edge distance to the bolts, plus 3 5/8 is to the edge of the beam. So you want to be from the face 3 5/8, and then you want to be another 1.5 inches. So 3 5/8 and 1.5 inches is 5 1/8. And then if I come in and go to 2D and check my measurement of distance from the center of that bolt to the end of the beam, should be 1.5 inches in the Y direction. 1.5 inches in the Y direction. There you go. Alright, so that's pretty good. So you can now save that to your we can call that extended, right? So let's go to library, save, edit, ASO extended. Okay, and now I'm going to copy this one, and I will just keep the plate on the same side, and I'll copy it over here. I don't like having the blue boxes, so I'm going to separate it. I should have separated the other one because this blue box is annoying me already. So what I'll do is actually I'll just select on it and come down here and remove it. So, okay. So we have one beam extended out here. I'm going to extend this out here 5 feet. And I'm going to draw a line up here and then move that. Oh. Sometimes when I go to move, I erase by accident. I'm guessing I'm not the only one that happens to. 5 feet. And then I'll split this beam. Now, I didn't need to do this because I'm going to put in the beams later, but this will help me put the beams in, I guess. So. So we can add that there and then copy this over here 10 feet. And they'll end up in smaller beams. I'll switch those to smaller beams. Actually, what I might do is I'm going to do a moment connection over here, so I don't need to do one here. I'll probably just do a double connection here in the middle, and I'll do a moment over here. So what we can do is, you get kind of the idea here. So what I'll do is I might just leave this as my part 2, and I'll finish the framing for part 3. This will be pretty long probably. I'm not in a rush to get this done. So right now, we're pretty good, I think. I'll have to call it for now. I don't know how long that one is. And I'll get back to this model on the next video. Okay. Thank you.